Alright, I'm gonna continue testing things. Let's test send and receives. They always break in weird ways. Put this in a macro is always problematic. So I have to set an input track. Oh, that's fucked up. What happened there? That was weird. More baking issues. Ah, what's going on there? Let's see. No. That's weird. What happened? For some reason the full 140, that's going to be, right, that's the send. So the send thinks that it has to rebake after the macro has baked. The macro output. It seems like. But only once. How can I... Okay, that's a good way of testing it. Right. So I'm going to drag this off and then Alt-Tab into my debugger. And then again, just do the same process I did before. Break here. Okay. So this is the macro, I assume. For output. So it's going to say there's dependencies that are not baked, right? No, it didn't. Input. Oh no, this is the input for... This is the input, okay. Baking cubes, 136, 140. So this is the input of the macro. This is the input of the send. This is the output of the macro. This all makes sense. So first of all, I'm baking the input of the macro. So by the end of that, so that was taken off of the queue now. So we're just going to bake the input of the macro. Yeah, that's done. Okay. Now what happens? 140. This is the input of the send. Okay. Is the input of the send. Okay, this all makes sense so far. Now it's... Well, that should have baked the input of the send. But it finished immediately. Let's just do it again. What happened? It might have been aborted, I missed it. I assume it was aborted, okay. Hold on. do the test again. Alt tab. Okay, here. Oops, I fucked up. No, drag here. Click. Okay. Alright, so this is the input of the macro first of all. Bang. And then we have the input of the send. Get to here, and let's see what happens. I assume it's just been aborted, maybe, once we process these triggers. Yeah. The send was aborted. Why was that? Because the input of the macro finished baking. So that's fair enough. So this task is going to be aborted. Because it thought that it was already baking. When this was... yeah, see, that's the problem with the way I'm doing this. Yes. Okay, hold on, let me have a think. Let me have a think. This is the old version of the model, right? That's why I'm saying this is no good. We have to abort it. Because we have the old version of the model. Oh dear, dear, dear me. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing as I did before, where I keep a local copy of the bake data and get it. Try and retrieve it from there first. Oh no, no, no. Hold on. Yeah, this is a problem. So we're pushing another bake trigger on here because we're triggering the send input to rebake because the macro input finished baking, which is a dependency of the send input. Macro input is a dependency of the send input. But it was already in the baking list because I have the, yeah. Again, this is not actually an issue. The fact that I'm adding this task and then it immediately gets aborted is a janky way of implementing it, but the result of that should be correct at least. So that's not the actual issue that I'm seeing here. That's not the issue that I'm seeing here. So let's continue debugging and just ignore that bit. Send receive. Put it in a macro. Set the input track. This is the issue that I want to debug. So fill it off. Alt tab. Do this. Click. Okay. this is, again, this is the input of the macro, which successfully bakes. Then we get the input of the send, which was already on the queue, which is going to start baking, then immediately abort because there's a newer version of the trigger. So this is just going to immediately abort this one on the first iteration of this loop. Okay. So far that's fine. It's janky, but it's like the end result is still correct. So now this is wrong. So now we're looking at the output of the macro, which cannot bake yet because the send input has not baked yet. We have two dependencies. Oh dear, what happened there? So it said the node is not baked, but it should be baked. It shouldn't be baked. Okay, I need to do this again. Okay. Right. This is the macro input. There we do the send input, which gets aborted. And then we're doing the macro output. We're looking at the dependencies. This first dependency is the input of the macro itself, which is already baked. So that's correct. Now we've got the output 141. Output 141. 141 I assume is the receive. Which is saying it's not baked. And then we're saying, should it be baked? No type. Block type. Receive, yeah. So receive should not be baked. That's correct, yeah. So we just ignore that. That's fine. Yeah, I get it. The baking graph is incorrect. The macro output should have another dependency here. At the moment, the only dependencies of the macro output are the macro input and the receive output. But the receive output is ignored because it's supposed to just use the input of the send. The send input needs to be considered a dependency of the macro output, and it's not currently. So oh, that's not actually necessarily true. Fuck, man. It's okay, I'm just going to consider it true. Just to fix this issue. Even though it's technically... Let's go to baking graph. This is a part of the code base that I actually like. The new bakery graph, since I refactored everything. It's a pleasure to work on this code. It's a very complicated problem, and I found a way of expressing it, which is not that bad. So, Find dependencies for macro outputs. Right here. How does this work? Get all workspace calls shallow. Remove calls outside macro range. Hey, why isn't that working? I don't think this is working right here. Okay, bit of a sidetrack. I want to investigate if this is actually working. If I do... Yeah. If I create this situation like this... If I resize the macro like this... All workspace calls 2. Remove calls outside the range 1. So it is working. So why does that trigger a bake? I guess it's not used inside the bake, but... No, hold on. Why does that trigger a bake? Doesn't make sense. Why does that trigger a bake? Hold on. Oh, because I'm not doing the symmetric thing of... Right. Find dependence for audio source. Here we go. If we're inside a macro, I need to put the same logic in here where if it's outside the macro range, then we ignore it. Calls outside macro range. Is outside macro range. This is cool. This is cool. Okay. I'm gonna need something like that. Is outside macro range. What is this macro range variable? Oh, it's this thing. It's not going to help because I've added all this garbage. Hello? Oh, also I'm debugging. Audio data core range. Audio data core range. Is outside macro range. Okay. So something like this. Mm. So get this. If not is outside macro range. Now let's reuse that function. I should solve that issue. And then I'll go back to what I was looking at a minute ago. So bang. Oops. The IDs are going to be different because I made things in a different order. Do this. Oh wait, I'm not testing this yet. Restart. Shouldn't work on two things at once, but sometimes it just happens. Okay, so do that. It's doing a lot of baking. Move this, and it still affects it. It still triggers a bake. Why? Didn't make any difference. Then it's for audio source. Huh. What the fuck? What? Hold on. The fuck? So it's not outside apparently. Where is it? 196,936. This is mad. What's happening? What's going on? No. Sampler. This is mad. One 49. One 49 is never actually baked. This is really weird. Macro range 19644. This is surely the first sampler. This is weird. I don't understand this. What is happening? Can I put this over here? Does this still happen now? This doesn't trigger a bake. This does. This is so weird. No dependence. Why is shit being triggered? I must have some other logic somewhere for triggering this shit. For triggering macros, I mean. That must be what's happening. Shit. Trigger baking nodes. .144 is the macro, I think. Trigger baking node happens here. I don't think this is happening. What's this? Set baking mode, that's not anything. Trigger bake. Offset, that's not going to happen. Holy Lord. Generate edges. I don't know. I don't think any of this is happening. It might be. These cores have moved relative to one another. No. What's this? Nothing. Alright, let's see where it... Okay. Disable all. Enable all. Oops. Move this. What? It's not happening anymore. Oh, fuck's sake. Fucking quantum bug. Only happens when I don't look. Oh, it's happening again. Okay. Enable breakpoints. Okay, here we go, right. It's moved relative to the... So it is a fucking dependent. It is a dependent. So this must have happened. This must have happened. I can see it isn't happening. This is so stupid. 129. What the fuck? Baking graph. Can we inspect this? Not really. The graph didn't change. This happened? No. This bit happened. The core didn't move line. Trigger its dependence only if their positions moved relative to one another. Shouldn't have any dependence. It shouldn't have any dependence. At some point we're coming in here. Core 129. Sampler. Output dependence, no. What happened? One 154. Moved cores. This didn't move. This didn't move. Did it? Absolute position. Oh, this one did move. 154. I'm so angry. What's happening? What's... Oh. It's so stupid. Why doesn't this work? Why is this a dependent? It doesn't make sense. This doesn't fucking make sense. This, how am I getting to here? I can see it's not a fucking dependent. But we get to here somehow. That doesn't make sense. It must be added as a dependent at some point. Core ID 155 144. That's what I'm looking for, right? Oh, it's not being expired? Is that what's going on? It's not being expired. Oh, no, 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 no. Hold on. I have to do that in 2 places as well, right? Macro. So is macro output dependency expired? See, I'm not checking if it's outside range anymore. This is, yeah, I have to keep this symmetrical, and I'm not doing. Okay, so there's a couple of changes I have to make here. So, if it's not an audio source, return true because it's expired. If what was it called? Is outside macro range. Macro range equals this. If then return true because it's expired, otherwise we return false. Okay, and then we need to do where will it be? We get to it from here. It's this. Is here we go. If the dependent is containing macro for the source, it's not expired. That's not true. It's expired only if it's no longer inside the macro range. Okay. Fucking hell, man. Macro range equals copilot. Thank you. If inside, where is that? Where is it? Macro range. If is outside macro range. Copilot, just finish it for me, please. Thank you. If it's outside the macro range, return true. Right. This is just mad. This shit is fucking mad. Do that and that. Create a macro. Just delete all these breakpoints. Wait for this to finish. One more. Okay. So I'm gonna just put this like this. And now this does not affect the baking. This will affect the baking until it moves out the outside. No, it still affects the baking. Okay. So it's still not fixed. So let's look at it from here. Sampler update. It says there's no dependence. It says there's no dependence, man. There's no fucking dependence on this shit. 129. This is not the right fucking thing, is it? Is this gonna happen again if I continue? 130. Still doesn't work. Oh no, this is... Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing. This is not the core, this is the block this is the block instance. Okay. So at some point 148. I still don't understand why both of the things, what both of the cores are. So I don't think 148 is even the one I'm interested in either. It's 149. And this one is going to say it has a dependent. Yes. Right. Now we're getting somewhere. I don't understand why it's doing an update. It's doing a baking graph update for everything in the macro instead of just the one that I moved. So why is that happening? I'll look at that in a minute. Let's first of all continue. So find output dependence. None. So it should register that as an expired dependent. An expired output dependent. Find expired nodes. Is node expired? Is audio source dependent expired? Yes, this is exactly what this is. It's not outside the range. Why is it not outside the range? That doesn't make sense. What? This range is incorrect. Range ID 144. What? Hold on. I'm passing the wrong ID. I'm passing the wrong ID. What? 144. 144. What's going on? Audio source dependent expired. You fucking dickhead. What are you doing? You dickhead. This should be... That's Copilot. Now. This is the problem with Copilot, I guess. You're supposed to like really check what code it... No, you can't... I can't blame Copilot for that because that is exactly the kind of mistake that I would have made anyway myself. I actually I can't fairly blame Copilot for that mistake. If I was typing it all manually, I probably still would have made a mistake like that. Lost my train of thought. What am I doing? This. Then do this. Then do this. So this doesn't trigger a bake. This triggers a bake because it's still inside, and then until I do this, and now it doesn't trigger a bake anymore. Beautiful stuff. Another thing what I want to look at though is the fact that when I move one of these things, I get 4 baking graph updates. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that is fucked. That shouldn't happen. Why do I get 4? I should get 2 baking graph updates. So let's see what's going on. Baking graph update. What's going on? So that's not happening. Update graphs for all cores. Maybe that's happening. Generate edges. Oh no! This is what's happening. I think this is happening here. Ah, fuck. No. How do I fix that? That's, I think that's what's happening, right? If I jiggle this, then I'm generating edges for all of these cores, which I really shouldn't do. I'm doing a lot of unnecessary work. And it's not visible to the user because it's all happening in a background thread, but I am doing a lot of unnecessary work. I can also see that it maybe doesn't matter how much work I'm doing there because the work is so cheap anyway, just updating those graphs. Because I can see like the baking happens instantly and the baking is triggered after all of that work has already happened. But if there's more blocks on the lane, okay, I'm not happy about it. I'm just going to put a fix me. I'm going to write a fix me here. This will regenerate edges for all cores in the lane, even if they didn't move. Copilot's so spooky sometimes. That is a correct comment. Right, what else was I doing? The send and receive stuff. I've completely forgotten what the problem was now. So let's just recreate what I was doing before. It was like double baking. Okay, I might have inadvertently fixed it. Is that too optimistic? Maybe it was actually related to what I was doing there. So set an input track. No, it's not fixed. Okay. So what's happening there? I have to reset my thought process now because I went on a massive digression. Right. It's this little dance that happens. Input core 140, 136, 140, 136. What's going on there? So the input... Why does that happen? Oh, sorry, I did already figure... I'm trying to remember where I got to in my thought process before. Didn't I already establish that? Oh, I don't know. I'm just gonna have to restart from the beginning. Input. The input for 136 is the macro, yeah. So we bake the input for the macro. Don't need to watch that. And then we look at the 140, which is the send. So now we bake the input of the send because we have the input of the macro ready. So does this actually happen? Or does it get aborted immediately? It gets aborted immediately because why? Because the input of the macro finished baking. So it gets aborted immediately, which is janky but fine. And then now we're baking the output of... Oh yeah, I remember what I was doing. I established that the dependency graph for the macro output is incorrect. That's why I was looking at the baking graph. Yes. Okay, let's have a look. So macro, find dependencies for macro output. This one is not get. Yeah, that I remember. This is okay. Okay. Yes. So the send is not counted as an audio source, it seems. Send is not counted as an audio source. But it should be. Sends are weird in that. No, this is right. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to explain this, but this is a problem that I already knew about. It's not a problem. It's just something very subtle, a very subtle interaction between. Maybe I can explain it. Maybe it'll help me if I explain it out loud. I don't know. That doesn't usually happen for me. If you have a send, this audio is going into the send. If you have an effect under the send, like this, for example, so I can move the send around. It doesn't rebake the effect. It's because the send is not considered a dependency of the effect because it has there's no audible effect. I think if I turn choke on, if I turn mute on, oh yeah, if I turn mute on, now it's considered an audio source. Bizarrely, it's when it's muted, it's considered an audio source, but when it's unmuted, it's not considered an audio source. Because when it's unmuted, it has no audible effect, but when it's muted, it has the effect of muting the audio. This is actually wrong though. So when it's muted, it should act as a choke. I actually have to explicitly turn choke on, it seems. Hold on, let me understand what's actually happening here. Okay. So when I hover over, so the choke makes no difference other than visually right now. Okay, I need to make a note of this. Sort out interaction between choke, enable, disable, and send block. Effectively, sends are very peculiar in that when it's muted, when mute is turned on, it's effectively acting as if choke is turned on for other blocks. Fucking hell. Okay. But it's not doing the visual effect unless I hover over it and press H, which is like this backdoor that shouldn't exist, because as you can see, choke is not present in this menu, because you shouldn't be able to turn choke on and off for send blocks, because it effectively mute does the effect of choking, what choking would usually do with other block types. Right. So the issue is when the send is inside a macro, if mute is not turned on, then it's not considered an audio source, and so it's not considered to be a dependency of the macro output, but it is a dependency of the macro output if it's connected to a receive within the same macro. And the receive is considered a the receive is considered a dependency of the macro output, but I have a special rule saying don't bother baking receives, because the receives just reuse the send input as their baked output. And so we're skipping over the receive. And so we're not looking at the dependencies of the receive, which would be the send, I think. So hold on. Should be baked. Receives just use the baked output source. I think I can just ignore. I can eliminate that test there, because I check that again anyway the next time through the loop, that when it actually comes to processing that node. So it's just discarded anyway. Maybe this is fine, I don't know. So send, receive, like that. Put it in a macro. Turn the input track on. I fixed it. That fixes it. That actually fixes it. Okay. I don't think that's going to cause any issues. That was just an unnecessary test there. to do a clean shutdown. Okay. Right. Fix more baking issues. Hopefully that's the last of the baking issues, but send and receives are always the complicated ones. Sends, receives, macros. That's the hellish intersection of baking issues.